Well, I'm truly amazed to be here as a psychologist, and yet I can't read minds. What a disappointment, right? Since I can't read your minds and you can't read mine, let's play a little game instead, right? I like to call this game Raise Your Hand. The rules are pretty simple. I'll be showing some images from our favorite Bollywood movies of our favorite Bollywood stars, and you just have to raise your hands if you agree to the statements. Simple? Yes. Raise your hand if you think addiction is a moral failing, or that Shahid Kapoor in the movie Kabir Singh lacks willpower and thus resorts to alcohol after his breakup. Raise your hand, please. Whoever agrees to this statement. Yes, perfect. Raise your hand if you believe addiction is a choice and Kangna Ranaut in the movie Fashion becomes addicted to the substance by choice. Please raise your hand. Perfect. Raise your hand if you feel Aditya Roy Kapoor in Aashki 2 and Ye Jawani Hai Diwani was not an addict, as addiction is only about illegal drugs and he just drinks alcohol all the time. Give me a raise of hand. Yeah. Raise your hand if you believe that quitting addiction is not difficult and Shah Rukh Khan in the movie Devdas could have stopped at any time if he wanted to. Perfect. Raise your hand if you feel using substance makes you more relatable to your peers, just like it did to Shahid Kapoor in the movie Udta Punjab. Raise your hand if you believe that experimenting with drugs or alcohol is just a phase and won't lead to any addiction or involve any risk, just like the movie Cocktail. Nice. Raise your hand if you believe that addiction is something that only happens to celebrities or just in the movies and it won't happen to you or anybody that you know. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today to challenge these misconceptions surrounding addiction, a topic that deeply impacts countless lives and yet remains shrouded in stigma. As a psychologist who has worked extensively in de-addiction centers, I have witnessed firsthand the devastating effect of addiction on individuals, families, and communities. I have heard the most painful and jaw-dropping stories that life can offer. They are tales of despair, grief, loneliness, and heartbreak. Today, I aim to dispel such myths, talk about science behind addiction, and explore a solution that can make a difference. So, first and foremost, it's very important to understand that addiction is not a moral failing. It does not mean that you lack willpower. Yes, initially, you make a choice, but later, it's not your choice to stay stuck in that cycle of addiction. To understand it better, I would say, imagine you are standing at the vast stormy river. This river represents the challenges of our lives, the challenges that we all encounter. Remember, this river is turbulent. It's very stormy. In that stormy river, now picture yourself holding on to a rope. This rope is your lifeline. It keeps you from being swept away in river's flow. It's your healthy coping mechanisms, your anchor in that storm. We all have struggles of our life, right? But when life struggle, all these challenges, they are manageable. Our grip on that rope is pretty strong. We can withstand river's flow and maintain our balance. We are coping with life just fine. However, life is unpredictable. And when these challenges increase, we may feel that our grip on the rope is, loosen up. That it's very difficult to maintain that grip. And that does happen. It seems that river is pulling you and dragging you down into its depths. And you just need an escape. And this is where the addiction enters the picture. Addiction is like that tempting but unreliable life belt that floats by. It seems like an escape to your, suffering. And when you grab onto it, you find momentary relief. To you, it may feel that addiction has taken away your pain, your stress, your anxiety. It distracts you from reverse turbulence. And it feels that you are floating for a while. But here's the catch. This life belt of addiction is not a durable solution. It's not a reliable solution. It's like a mirage in desert, promising you hope, promising you relief, but leaving you even thrustier in the end. And with time, this addiction tightens its grip. It becomes so difficult to just get out of it. And in this tug of war between addiction and your healthy coping mechanism, addiction often wins the battle. It takes you far, far away from the shore of stability and control. Far away so that you can reach back to your healthy coping mechanisms. And that makes us wonder, why can't people just snap out of it? Why can't they just jump out of it and stop using or doing whatever they are doing? Well, addiction to anything, be it alcohol, drugs, playing video games, watching pornography, or even mindless scrolling through Instagram, is a symptom of pain. It is our misguided attempt to regulate our emotions. It is our misguided attempt to self-soothe. You see, have you heard of this neurotransmitter called dopamine? This neurotransmitter is responsible for our, it is called our happiness hormone. It is responsible for pleasure, motivation, reward. And where there is absence of dopamine, there is presence of addiction. Some people who, let's talk about a boy who loves to play video game. He's playing video games 10 to 12 hours a day. This does not mean that he likes that video game. This means he's seeking that dopamine rush that he gets when he's playing that video game. Sometimes people who use drugs, they're not seeking high, they're seeking normalcy. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is produced in our brain when we indulge in activities such as addiction, which brings us pleasure, which makes us happy for a while. And with time, as our mind is getting used and adjusted to this extreme rush of dopamine, this rush becomes very normal for it. Like our mind gets used to it. And in order to feel that same rush, our mind needs more and more of it. And at the same time, our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for making decisions, is also compromised. And hence, we fail to make judgments and understand that, we have to leave it because it is causing us so much harm. But what happens when a person is addicted? As a society, what we do, we put on this chashma, we put on these specs, and we look at them as moral failing. We look at them as failures. We judge them. I hope you all understand that as humans, it is our basic need to connect. And when a person is addicted, they lose all their connections. They start fighting with their loved ones. They start distancing themselves. It's not them who is doing this. It's the addiction that is making them do this. We fail to offer them a compassionate, empathetic society. I believe addiction is not a personal failure. It is a societal failure. We as a society have failed our youth, our people who are suffering. So much so that people are afraid to reach out for help today. If you tell someone that, you are addicted to this or that or this or that, they won't reach out for help because they're scared. How will the world view at them? They will be looked as addicts. Oh my God, such a big word. It's important for us as society, as youngsters, as youth, to talk about addiction, to talk it in a way that we sensitize not just ourselves, but people around us. Not as a moral failing, not as a choice. And one more thing, addiction does not discriminate. Addiction can happen to anyone. You will never know who is struggling because we have trained them to hide it so well. When we judge someone, we are not telling them to improve. We are teaching them to hide it better. And that's what people do. They are afraid to reach out. I talk to so many families, so many people, so many patients every day who are in this chain of addiction from years and years and years. People as young as you, as old as, I don't know, 60 years old. Yes, they made a choice, but that does not make them a bad person. Good people can make bad decisions, can make bad choices, which does not make them bad people. Some of them, I see, they work so hard to get out of addiction, and yet they can't. Because when they do, the society gives them a label called addiction. Hey, you are an addict. You were an addict. You might relapse. I don't know how common is this in normal life, because when I was in school, when I was in college, I never get to hear about addiction. I just thought it's about just smoking cigarettes, having drinks at parties with friends. But in the real world, it's far, far, far away from what our Bollywood shows us. Our Bollywood shows us that if you want to get out of addiction, you can just do it in a day. You have a patch up, you marry your loved one, you got a dream job, you got your money and problem solved, boom, you are out of addiction. That's not the reality. It takes years and years of struggles, countless sessions, therapy, medications, talking to experts, and whatnot. People who are recovering from addiction, it's not easy for them. But what we can do is offer them a safe space, a space where they can be themselves. They can talk openly about how they feel. They are in pain, and when somebody is in pain, we offer them help, right? That's what we fail to do as a society when it comes to addiction. We fail to offer them that help. Even if they try to reach back to that rope of, that lifeline, their healthy coping mechanisms, we make sure that they don't. Because we keep them reminding, you are an addict. We keep their families reminding, your family member is an addict. You are an addict, that's why we are not giving you this job. Just know, addiction is a coping mechanism, a way of dealing with pain. If you are getting addicted to something, ask yourself, where is this pain coming from? Why can't I just, take my eyes off the screen? Why can't I just stop playing this video game? Why does this particular food, sugar, or substance makes me so happy? So happy that I can't feel the same happiness when I'm with my friends or doing something else that I once used to love. Just know that if we offer them this compassionate, empathetic, and loved society, we are breaking this generational trauma of addiction. Addiction is not a choice. People who are addicted are not a moral failure. They do not lack willpower. They are just people like you and me. And they deserve to be happy. They deserve to recover. The opposite of addiction is not being sober. The opposite of addiction is connection. Thank you.